What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of Fantasy Football 101, which is not on purpose, but actually in tandem with following week 6 of the NFL itself. It's been a strange, numbing, brain killing season so far, which I would say
Disappoint
is. Go ahead.
Disappointment would be the word that I would use.
Yeah, you and everybody else, I think, man. We say this every year right here, but I don't know. It does seem like this year's just been worse. So we're just going to go through, we won't go through the scope of the whole league, but we're going to cover some players and some teams that are kind of either positively or negatively impacting your league and your team. And a lot of these guys were first or second round draft picks. So, like I said, it's kind of just a machine gun spray of whoopsie daisies and, ooh, look what I found out there, you know? So, I'm actually in just a minute or two. I'm going to turn the episode over to Primo, and we're just kind of go down a list of various topics and players. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give some props, man. Primo wasn't with us last week, so we couldn't address it. Well, we could have, but I wanted to wait till he was here so that he could just dunk on our faces. He's going to dunk on my face about one. He can dunk on the whole world about the other one because I said straight up I was 50-50. I didn't know. But
Shout out.
yeah, story of my life. So first and foremost, your preseason take on Anthony Richardson. We thought you went way too far. And to be honest with you, we thought that Florida has been going through enough lately without you just shitting all over the university. But you nailed it, bro. So I'll give you the floor for a second and let you just give that a facial.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson he's performing about what I fucking expected, and guess what? He's not even performing right now because he's injured. So, who would have thought? He look when he was at Florida, he had like one good game. Okay, maybe two good games. I'll even throw in like a good quarter in there. Okay, but for the
Which is
most part,
exactly what he did for Indianapolis last year. 2 good games and a quarter.
my point proven. And it's just like everybody was just like jerking off to like how strong he can throw like how far he can throw the football and his athletic ability. Yeah, well, guess let me tell you guys, it's hard to be an athlete when you're on the fucking bench 24/7. Okay, so just very inconsistent. And I tried telling people, okay, he sucked at Florida. I don't know why y'all think he's just going to automatically be good in the NFL. I don't know. There's just my thoughts. And I think I looked at his stats for every game a minute ago, and he had what below 10 on a majority of the games that he's played in so far.
I'm sure. I haven't even. I don't
You
think.
may
I think he's.
you may have to
I
fact
know
check me
that
on
he's
that.
already lost his job to a 40-year-old that is just balling out of control right now. So, I mean, stats or no stats, what else can you do to that? You know.
Yeah, I mean the dude has one good rush in college, and they're all like, "Oh my god, he's the best thing ever." I'm like,
Well, that.
guys, Florida Gators suck, man. They suck it.
Well, so the comp was he's got the arm of Jamarcus Russell and the legs of Michael Vick. And I'm not gonna say I drank the potion. I didn't. I saw the potential. But at the end of the day, you're right. It doesn't really matter how athletically gifted you are if you suck at football. And he seems to suck at football. I'm not saying he's never gonna be a thing. I just know that right now he's not. And it ain't looking good. Like I,
Chris, I
I,
think
I,
you're being a little nice here. I'm gonna go ahead on a limb and say he's always going to suck.
Well, okay, that's you know what you were right so far, so I'm not gonna argue you. I just I have not been tracking Anthony Richardson personally closely because I didn't draft him anywhere. Number one, I was scared. I'll go ahead and tell you that right now. I didn't have the balls for a fifth round, sixth round pick on an unproven, pretty much rookie. I mean, technically he's a second year, but he played for like 90 minutes last year, so he's a rookie. Um, but I did draft Michael Pittman and a couple places I took a Donnie Mitchell, and
Mhm.
a couple places I've waiver wired Josh Downs. And what I can tell you is with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman, if Joe Flacco is the quarterback, they are wide receiver twos. I am not hesitant to play them, regardless of matchup. We saw it last week with Josh Downs. He was hurt or coming off of an injury. People didn't even know if he was going to play. And then Joe Flacco got the nod, and 4 minutes into the game, Josh Downs had 55 yards and a touchdown already. And I've seen the 2 games he played with Anthony Richardson, and I wouldn't have picked his ass up off the waiver wire if he was sitting there. So, regardless of what you want to say about the quarterback himself, it's about what he does for the weapons around him that matters for fantasy. And all I know is Joe Flacco makes Colts playable, and Anthony Richardson automatically puts him on my bench. So, go you.
um, I'll say this. Okay, two things I have to say about Anthony Richardson, and then we can kind of move on. Okay, because I don't want to beat a dead horse, and that dead horse is Anthony Richardson.
Dead Colt, but sure, close
dead
enough.
Colt. Yeah. Yeah. So two things that I have about Anthony Richardson. One, the dude is like one of those little origami birds, you make out of paper. He's like fucking paper, dude. The dude just folds. Like, as soon as you rush him and look at him weird, he's just like, oh my God, my shoulder broke. And then he's out. Like, dude, injury prone like a motherfucker. Okay? And then on the other side of things, Anthony Richardson, I've said it before, I think, and I'll say it again. I would rather draft Brett Favre in fantasy football than ever waste a pick on Anthony Richardson.
Why waste a pick when you can get dick pics? I I'm a
Yes. So, Anthony Richardson, you can go fuck yourself, sir. Go
no.
fuck yourself.
He's not doing that so much as he is everybody that plays him.
Yeah, it won't be me because I'll draft other motherfuckers to die on my bench. And then the other guy, Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Kudos.
He's the truth, man. He's the truth. I tried telling everybody, like, I think, so people say, okay, well, the college tape is there, but his abilities are fantastic. And when you talk about like Anthony Richardson, okay, like his game film from college is just not there. I don't give a shit what you say. He was just flat out terrible. He played like one good game. I'm gonna get off his dick in a second and stop beating him. But
I don't think you will, but I'll allow it.
My point that I'm trying to bring up is look at college and how well those teams perform with said players. Brock Bowers, 2 out of 3 years, won national championships, okay? Georgia's offense this year, without Brock Bowers, I don't want to say atrocious, because it's not, but it's not nearly as good as what it was for the last 3 years. And I think a lot of that goes to Brock Bowers just being a sure thing. You just throw it up, dude's going to catch it. Or if you need him to get open all of a sudden, he's going to be there. And I think Brock Bowers is just showing the world he's going to be the numero uno tight end when it's all said and done by the end of the year. End of the year. Rookie season, he'll be number 1.
That's bold. 3 weeks into the season, I was completely on board with that. I actually thought that's where he was headed. I don't think he finishes number 1 overall now, but that has nothing to do with him. That's just because the Raiders are a flaming bag of dog shit as a functional unit. He's doing whatever the hell he can, though. I mean, the dude is the truth. I mean, I'm not going to dunk on it because I never fully agreed or disagreed. I just didn't know. But I did say, like, in tandem with you, that they didn't draft him to block. I mean, the dude's going to be out there running routes. He's going to be catching passes. As luck would have it, he does happen to be a pretty gifted blocker, but that's not what the Raiders need him for, And, we get scared of rookie tight ends because history tells us to. And last year with Sam Laporta, didn't change many people's minds because he was an outlier, but 2 years in a row with Sam Laporta last year and Brock Bowers this year, it's something that we fantasy heads are going to have to take into consideration going forward. Um, I
Maybe
do think the dude
not.
is generational, though.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe not number one tight end in terms of fantasy production. I'll edit what I said, but like
Okay.
when we go to rank tight ends, like okay, who is this? Who's the actual number one tight end in the league? I think Brock Bowers will be number one by the end
Yeah.
of the
No, no,
year.
no. I don't think that's very hot of a take, to be honest with you, man. I think that's pretty, an educated guess just from the eye test. I agree with you. I think the dude's phenomenal.
The
And I
only thing
think,
that's going to stop him is I don't know how his ankle's holding up. I haven't followed along with what he's doing so far. I've just been seeing the highlights, which there are a lot of them. Um, his ankle and injuries are going to be the only thing that stops him in his career.
yeah, touche. Touche. Well, there you have it. That's where Primo killed us during our pre-draft takes.
You know, I wish my other teams were as good as those two picks or those two decisions.
Man, I can't say we got to throw this season out because obviously we can't. It's a whole season, but nobody's drafted team is remotely even close to. you know, it's whatever. We're gonna get there. That's actually a solid point. Let's move right into that. Let's move into some of the leg cramping injuries and skull crushing defeats that we are suffering because of them. I'll let you take over and we'll just go down the list and I'll try to talk about, not just the player, but how it's killing everybody around him.
All right, going through the notable people on the IR, and I'm not gonna lie, on some of the teams that I have about four of these motherfuckers on this list. Okay,
Me too.
I've gotten hit hard by the injury bug this year, and it's not just like I'm not saying that in terms of injury bug, I have just like five or six people on each team that are just injured. That's not what I mean. I mean like top two guys are out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, actually, that's a solid point. Let me say something real quick before we get started in this. I saw a stat yesterday. I don't know how they calculated this, but it was on a credible website, so I'm assuming that it's true. It wasn't like, Wiki Fantasy or some bullshit like that. So last year was the most injury staked year in fantasy football that we had seen in as far back as however it's been tracked, right? This year in comparison to last year, there are 35% more injuries through 6 weeks of football than there were last year. So this year is set to be the most injury prone year that we've ever endured by a mile. Like, it's freaking wild. Like you said, you've got 4 or 5 people on this list right here. This is just the IR. These aren't people that are just missing a game or two every other week. Like, these are just people that we had, it's like a tornado versus a hurricane. When somebody pulls a hammy and they claim they're week to week, that's a tornado. That's, oh shit, I got to do something right now and I got to have an answer immediately. At least when somebody gets put on the IR, it's kind of like a hurricane. You know it's coming, but you have a few days to prep. Like, like I got to do something to carry myself for the next 4 to 6 weeks. But looking at IR and just your doubtfuls and your outs, dude, there's a couple leagues where I'm having to pick up people whose name I barely recognize to fill out a roster. Like, it's scraping the bottom of the barrel. So,
I don't know if you noticed, but last night, last fucking second, I get the notification that James Cook is out for the Buffalo
mhm.
game. Now, mind y'all, Monday night. I don't know if y'all are aware of this if you're watching this, but all the games have been fucking played up to that point. So when a player goes down at the last second on Monday, and I know this is like first world problems, go fuck yourselves, okay? Um, I had to scramble. I'm like, all right, who's the second string running back for the for the Bills? Who am I gonna drop? I really don't want to drop the Bengals, but I'm gonna fucking drop them at this point, okay? Because I need at least a couple of points. And let me tell you, those couple of points made all the difference because I came back on Carmen in our 2 game league, and I think I beat her by like 4 points. Yeah, I needed all four of those points from that running back.
Nice. Thank you, Ty Johnson. I guess that's who that was.
Yes, like you sucked, but you sucked just like not as much as you could have. So I appreciate it.
Well, Monday night injuries don't always go so smoothly. I too have a similar story about James Cook, no less. So I'm in this
Oh,
one league. It's a money league, and I drafted Christian McCaffrey in the first round. I drafted Devontae Adams in the second round. And then between rounds like 3 through 6, I've got one or two players that are still in the field. Long story short, I was 1-4 going into this week. All right. I'm pretty much 2-4 is hard to come back from. 1-5, in my opinion, you might as well just turn your phone off. But so I had James Cook in my lineup, and I had Alan Lazard on my bench. James Cook was in the flex, so I tried to do that new little auto sub thing that they let you do on Sleeper if your commissioner leaves it unlocked. And I thought I had it. Like I did. I was just like, oh, that's cool. Got that done. I don't have to worry about if James Cook plays or not. Never saw an update. Never even heard that he was out. So I was like, I didn't check it. I didn't check it at all. Didn't check it. So like 3 minutes into the game, I saw that the Bills had a field goal already. So I wasn't even looking for points. I just wanted to see if he was actually getting, if he already had 3 or 4 touches in the first drive, because that'll let me know right off the bat, is he going to play or is he just out there for nothing? And he was out. Definitely not in the game. Definitely not in the game. And if I had done the auto sub bullshit correctly, I would have won last night because Alan Lazard got like 24 points. So
love it.
my lack of knowledge with technology failed me.
Womp womp womp.
Yes, screw Monday night injuries.
I hate him. Hate him.
Solid
So just,
comeback though.
ooh, barely, sir, barely. Which we'll talk about Josh Allen in just a few minutes, okay? Because I have two vastly different opinions about last night that I just want to offer to the masses out there.
All
But
right.
talking about the IR, Tua on the old IR for wait, this is week number 4, 5.
Yep. So Tua's personal story is very sad, and if you're locked into it, then you know just as well as I do. I don't know that he should play again. I know he's going to. He loves the game too much, and the team is so dependent on him, and I think he knows that. But while he's been out, dude, it's been rough for the Dolphins. I don't know how many shares of the Dolphins you have, but even people like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devon
A
Achane
chain.
are borderline unplayable. Well, actually, Jalen Waddle seems to be unplayable in my opinion. He's had one or
He's
two games where he's had 5 or 6 catches, but it's been empty catches.
he's always been unplayable, but neither here nor there.
Well, I'm not even gonna go down that road. I like me some Jalen Waddle with a healthy Tua though. That's the kicker. So
They have shit the bed since he went on the IR.
they
Legitimately
have
shit the bed.
they have. So as far as giving you guys advice to do what to do until he comes back, it's gonna be at least a week or two. I think he has 1 week left to actually sit on the IR, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that because I know they had a bye week last week. But assuming he's back week 8, everybody's back in your lineup, I'm assuming. But in the meantime, you've already been riding the storm this long. What else can you really do to pivot? I mean, you got to play Tyreek Hill and hope for a long ball, and you got to play Devon Achane and hope for volume. You know, not much to really plan around there. It just sucks.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't have anybody to replace those players with, so I'm just taking it on the chin at this point.
Yeah, I 2 weeks ago I would have said go out and try to get your Tyreek Hill where you can get him if you got a winning record because when Tua comes back, he's obviously great. But if that team was losing, then they might have needed people that were going to be good now. So, but at this point, Tua's almost back, so nobody's going to trade him. So,
And then the guy that we have not seen at all this season, and I don't know if I missed it or if they were keeping this under wraps. I do know that the 49ers are doing some shady shit week 1 where he just all of a sudden got injured and was not on the roster. Christian McCaffrey. Like I said, I don't know if I missed it, but I drafted this dude and immediately on the IR. I'm like,
well,
what the
yeah, you
fuck,
did
bro?
miss it. You did miss it because Kyle Shadyhan didn't tell anybody the truth. And that's just what he does as a head coach. He's asshat when it comes to reporting about his players' eligibility and injury risk. But yeah, Chris McCaffrey's real hurt, man. I mean, Achilles tendonitis in both heels. Obviously, he went to see that specialist in Germany for like I guess like a Volvo brand Achilles replacement. I don't know what the hell he did, but his IR stint's actually over. He's eligible to come back at any point. The reports are the beginning of November because they do have a week 9 bye. So essentially, with that one, it's kind of like the Tua situation. There's not much you can do. If you're a McCaffrey owner and you had Jordan Mason, then I won't say you're great because Jordan Mason's not as good as Christian McCaffrey for fantasy purposes, but you just got to keep riding him until McCaffrey comes back. And if you're a McCaffrey owner and you didn't have Jordan Mason, you're probably up shit creek. So at this point,
Me.
you could try to, if you're trying to get rid of him because you need some immediate wins, reach out to the guy in the league that's either 5-1 or 6-0 or maybe even 4-2 with McCaffrey supposedly coming back in a few weeks and see if you can get a double player package for him. But and conversely, if you're not scared of him coming back, if you're the 5-1 team or the 6-0 team, go get him if you've got the pieces to let go for him, because we all know what Christian McCaffrey can do when he's on the field and healthy. That's not really even a question. But the question is just going to be, how soon is he back out there? And when he is back out there, how much does he look like himself from last year?
That's going to be the question. Do we want to make a bold prediction that he might not be the same player ever again?
You can make that prediction. It's not very bold, though. It's that seems to be the general consensus. I refuse to believe that because I'm so dependent on Christian McCaffrey everywhere.
Right.
But Curtis, if Curtis were here, he would tell you McCaffrey's washed, like straight washed.
I don't know if you have Achilles tendonitis and both legs, right? It was both. It was both.
Mm-hmm.
Both feet, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. That I probably never draft him number 1 or anything like that ever again.
No,
if I had to say.
no. He's definitely not going to be a number 1 pick.
Or not
I'm
number
curious.
one, not necessarily number 1, but like first round, second round. Like I might put him on my list of you fucked me one too many times, and no fault of his own. Okay, I'll acknowledge it, no fault of his own. But kind of like what Curtis said, he's old at this point.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with you, man. I got nothing for that. I got food.
What about Isaiah Pacheco?
So that's a tricky one. I think he's halfway done with his healing period. If you got him, you saw that he was probably coming back after a couple of months, so I'm sure you didn't drop him. But in the meantime, I don't really know where you pivoted. I mean, the Chiefs' running back room has been real shaky. It seems like Kareem Hunt, of all people, is going to emerge as the volume guy. And he looked good last week. I went back and watched, I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched some drives just so I could kind of get a feel for what he was doing.
Can we just take a second to acknowledge Kareem Hunt and his journey in the NFL? Him and what was that Cleveland Browns? I know he was also in the Cleveland Browns, but what was that Cleveland Browns guy that got in trouble for smoking dope every single year and got suspended for a year and a half, came back,
Josh
and
Gordon.
got suspended. What was it?
Josh Gordon?
Yes. Yeah. To me, those two players, y'all never play, but somehow you're always on a team. They will be off of a team and in free agency, and everybody will forget about them. And then some random team, mostly the Chiefs, will come along and they'll be like, hey, let's get him back in here. And I'm like, I thought that dude retired. We just need to acknowledge the fact that this dude just won't die and go away and retire. I gotta respect it.
It's hard for me to compare those two in the same pocket, even though the paths were similar, because Josh Gordon just likes smoking weed, man. It's whatever. That's legal
Ricky
across
Williams.
half of the continental United States now. Kareem Hunt beat the shit out of somebody. So,
it's different. But I'm talking about necessarily the
yeah.
it's they just won't go away.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree completely. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you put a bid in for him and you got him, then I think you're starting him until further notice. Apparently, and until
Do you
somebody else pisses
do
him
you
off in
remember
an
those?
elevator.
That was funny. Do you remember those Josh Gordon days, man? Like
Yeah, he was a
everybody was
freak.
fighting over that dude, and it was like, oh my god, he was like the best thing fucking ever. And then it was like as soon as you drafted him, oh, suspended.
Yeah.
He comes back, oh, suspended again.
To be fair, he was one of the best things ever. Like
He was, he
that
was.
dude was.
I'm not
He
knocking it.
was a freak. He just, he liked the green a little too much for the
Like I said,
NFL's liking.
just like Ricky Williams.
Yeah, is what it is. But I
Nico
think we're
Collins.
down to I think we're down to 4 weeks on Pacheco though. Just the shortest
Oh,
answer possible to that initial question. So if you had a pivot, good. If not, play those dusty, crappy waiver wire running backs and hope that they get you through till he comes back.
just stream it. Nico Collins also on the IR.
This hurts me.
Yes, hurt me
This
bad.
this this hurts me in my fantasy lineups and emotionally because coming into the season, Nico was my guy. He's the guy that I told everybody, pay up, go get him. I don't care that his ADP is wide receiver 13 or whatever the hell astronomically low that it was. I said this dude is going to be the wide receiver 1 on the Texans and he has the potential to finish top 5 overall. He was the wide receiver number 1 before he got hurt. And then he's out for 4 weeks. So now the problem with trying to find a replacement for Nico is Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs were already drafted. You're not going to go pick those up off the waiver wire because everybody thought that this team was going to finish with 3 top 20 wide receivers by the end of the year. And there's a kid to look out for. His name is Xavier Hutchinson. When waivers run tomorrow, you might see him on the waiver wire because he never got picked up, and you might see him on the waiver wire because he got picked up and then he didn't score anything and then he got dropped. If I had to take a dart throw, it's going to be him as the wide receiver 3 over the next few weeks, but Dalton Schultz, the tight end, also saw 8 targets. It was kind of his breakout game this year. So, sure, pick your poison. You can play him, I won't say with confidence, but I'm telling you that Xavier Hutchinson is the big-bodied guy on the roster, and that's kind of the role Nico was filling. But to be fair, guys, the receiver pool, injuries or not, is just pretty deep this year. I mean, everybody's throwing the ball, you know? Scoring is down, which is kind of a weird thing, but pass rate over expectation is actually pretty high considering that scoring is down so much. So, best advice on Nico is obviously if you can afford to wait because I still think if we look at him at the end of the season, his average points per game still has the potential to be wide receiver 1. He's not going to finish as the wide receiver 1 if he misses 4 games, but when you got him in your lineup, he's still going to give you what you need and more. So, but if you're in a situation where you got to trade him, don't do it for cheap. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, if you went running back heavy and Nico was your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2 is like a I don't know, like a Romeo Dobbs or just somebody that you're just filling out flex spots every week and you need to trade him to get maybe 2 more wide receiver 2s instead of just him. Sure, I get it, but my advice would ultimately be if you can afford to hang on to him, just power through the storm because I mean, he gave us 5 games of excellence. So,
I want to say he had 20 points in all those games. It's pretty close to 20 points in all those games, right?
in full point PPR, I think his lowest score was a 16,
I'll
and
take it.
that might have been the week he got hurt. It was crazy, dude. He had like 15 points in the first quarter, and he got hurt on the touchdown that he caught. So, like, it was it was it was one play away from him giving you like a 2 and then getting hurt. But, he did the damn thing. He caught a 55-yard touchdown and then limped into the locker room. So he's like, I'm going to hurt you for a few weeks, but here's a parting gift. All right?
Here's a few points.
But it is a hamstring. And it was crazy because it said First, it said he might come back. Then it said he's day to day. Then it said he's week to week. Then he went on the IR. So that's terrifying sequence of events because it's like every time a new doctor looks at this, it gets worse and worse. So, but at this point, keep the panic down unless you have to trade him. It's 4 weeks regardless. So, just is what it is.
What about Rashee Rice?
Um, yeah, everybody that drafted Rashi Rice drafted him above ADP because his ADP was astronomically low compared to his talent level, and we saw that for the first 3 weeks of the year. But even so, I mean, it sucks because the dude's out for the season. And as far as keeper value, you still have to look at that going into next year too, because he will have to serve that suspension at some point. So is he worth keeping on your bench, keeping him, wasting your whatever draft round pick he's going to cost you next year, and then him have to miss 6 games? I don't know. It's just kind of one of those wait and see what happens with him situations. But as far as what to do in his place, this is going to be a wild claim, man. But I kind of thought it might be the answer before I saw it happen. But dude, Juju Smith-Schuster just filled in for that role and caught 9 catches for 130 yards. Like, just out of nowhere. Now, it's the Chiefs. Is that going to be every week? No, it's not. But as far as receivers go, I think Juju is probably the closest thing to a Rashi Rice that they have. Now, we're going to cover some actual, like, full offenses here in a little while, so I'll save the rest of that spiel for that because I imagine the Chiefs are on it because they're confusing and annoying for fantasy. But you're not going to get anything for trading Rashi Rice, obviously. He's out for the season, so your only option is for a pivot, and my pivot would be Juju. He's even after that big game, he's still rostered in less than 40% of leagues. So if he's out there, I would say go pick him up. He's not going to kill you, you know. Watch him for 1 week. If he gets 5 or 6 catches, play him the next week, and then if he disappears, drop him again. I mean, no, not many people are confident in it, but that's my personal take.
What about Puka?
Um, this is just another one that sucks, man. I mean, week 1, dude comes out, gives you 25 or 30, something like that. Week 2, he's on the IR, and when we first see IR, we think 4 weeks, but then the report came out that it was going to be 6, 8, possibly 10. So I would say pick your favorite Rams receiver for a pivot option, especially since Cooper Kupp has also been out. But that's not really how the Rams have been rolling, man. They've pretty much just been force feeding Kyron Williams, and all the receivers are getting 3 to 4 catches each. So it's hard to pick. If you have to spot start one, especially now that we're in the bye weeks and you have to fill out rosters with somebody, my personal choice would be Tutu Atwell, just because Matt Stafford seems to like him a lot. I think the best one on there is Demarcus Robinson, but that really hasn't panned out like it was last year during their big kind of historic point scoring run. So, I'd say trade him. There are ambulance chasers in your leagues that will, like I said, there's that one guy that's either 5-1 or 6-0 that probably maybe lost Rashi Rice or maybe has, Nico in the IR or they might just be in a spot where they can afford to wait for Puka. So, I mean, if you have to, shop him around, but if not, I mean, it is what it is. He's going to be out for at least 4 more weeks.
Nick Chubb is also practicing again.
He is. He's supposedly going to play next week.
Look, taking fantasy out of this now. Nick Chubb is a Georgia dog. Okay, he's a dog, and I think injuries. I think Nick Chubb could have been one of the best running backs in NFL history if injuries did not fuck him. I think he'd be up there with Derrick Henry hitting 10,000 yards, career like that kind of career. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he comes back from another ACL, and I hope he does. I hope he does. I hope he comes back and he is the exact same player that he was because let me tell you, he won me a lot of games. Okay, and on fantasy and at Georgia. Love Nick Chubb. I have a Nick Chubb jersey. All right, wear it every day. Wear it every Saturday for the Georgia games. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to think about him right now. I think if anybody can come back from it, from two ACLs and not even just ACLs, but how violent those ACL tears were. I think Nick Chubb can do it. He'll be the one that can do it. But I don't know. I'm a little hesitant.
Yeah, it was one of those things that never should have been on the internet, and it was actually so bad that they pretty much did everything they could to guarantee that it was no longer on the internet. It was the most gruesome knee injury I've ever seen. But it's like you said, the fact that we're just now a year out from it and the dude's already about to put pads on again, like that's insane. I think the dude is just probably, I can't say he's as physically gifted as Derrick Henry because I think Derrick Henry is just superhuman, but Nick Chubb's probably the closest thing to it. So if anybody can come back and be a shadow of their former self, I do think it's him. Um, there's going to be a waiting period. I mean, he's obviously not going to just walk out there week one and get 35 carries, but as long as he looks good and he feels okay, I think it's going to be a shorter waiting period because it sounds like Jerome Ford is going to miss a little time with his injury. And so I think for a week or two, you're going to see maybe 70% Pierre Strong and 30% Nick Chubb, and then maybe 50-50. And then after that, depending on how he looks and how he feels, they might just say, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom again, you know? I hope that for him. I'm a huge fan of his. Nick Chubb is, dude, nothing to do with Georgia, obviously, but just since he's been in the NFL, like he's been the most surefire. Out again, him and Derrick Henry kind of go hand in hand, but just the most surefire downhill runner that you know is going to get you yards and touchdowns. So I hope the best, man. I really do. For fantasy purposes, if you drafted him, you've waited this long. Have fun and good luck. Um, I actually have no issue if you find somebody in a bind, throw in an ancillary piece. Unfortunately, with him being almost back, that price goes up every single week. But if I would have known that he was actually going to be playing in week 7, in week 2 or 3, I would have been throwing offers out for him for teams that were going through like Cooper Cup injuries, Raji Rice injuries, people that were in a bind and needed something. I would have been reaching out for him. Honestly, I have confidence in him. Again, I think we've probably seen the last 1,700 yards on the ground with 19 touchdown season that we're going to get from him, but I think he's still going to be a thing.
I hope so. Hope so. Uh, Favorite player in the league? I would say. But again, I'm
Yeah,
biased. So,
no qualms with that. Yeah.
Jonathan Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks is exciting. Jonathan Brooks also coming off an ACL tear. Wasn't bad as Nick Chubb's, and it happened in college, but he was so good in college that he was he the first or second running back drafted? He was a top two. I think he was the first. I think he was the first running back drafted this year. And when the Panthers took him, they knew they weren't going to be able to use him for half the season. His 21-day window has been opened. I think we're in week 2 of it. So we're not going to see him this week. We might see him next week, but if not, he will be on the field by week 9. And it's going to be a similar situation. Chuba Hubbard is just somehow blowing the doors off of defenses. He's running the ball angrily, but they drafted Jonathan Brooks to be the future. So it's going to be a matter of time. But when he finally does inherit the keys to, I'm not going to call the Panthers a Ferrari, but when he finally gets in the driver's seat, he's going to drive that little Ford Ranger as fast as it can go. you know. So I'm wheels up on Jonathan Brooks, man. I have reached out for him. I've got him in a couple places, and I've had him thrown into a couple deals that I've made as that B piece, just because I believe I do. And they're going to be playing from behind a lot. He's not only strong and fast, but he's also shifty. He's going to be a receiving back as well. He just seems like a true rookie do it all running back. And that's what you want in fantasy is you for your running back you want youth and you want versatility.
Mm-hmm. The last one to talk about is T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah, I'm excited for Hawk. The Vikings are scoring points. The Vikings defense is continually giving the offense great field position. Sam Darnold, I mean, he didn't look great the week before the bye, but I think we all knew that as if you would have told me Sam Darnold was going to have 12 really good games this year, I would have assumed that the other 5 were going to be you know, kind of blah. Sam Darnold is not 100% of the time locked in quarterback, but he's playing the best ball I've ever seen him play. And with a 6'6", 260 guy in the end zone, when they get to the red zone, it takes some pressure off Justin Jefferson. It takes some pressure off their wide receiver, too, Jordan Addison. And it just gives them another target, So, with the landscape of tight ends, that economy is very, very poor at the moment. If you probably had to draft him, or maybe he went undrafted and somebody's probably picked him up off waiver wires. But if they got in a bind and had to fill their IR up and drop him, go look because he'll probably be back next week, if not this week. I would have to check the report. I think he started practicing, but I think they said it's probably going to be next week before he plays. But he was in line to be tight end 1 last year before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Hey, as long as he doesn't take away from Justin Jefferson, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, dude. There could be 8 receivers on the field. Justin Jefferson's still going to get his.
Which we'll come back to him in just a little bit. Okay, I promise you.
All right.
So, a lot of teams are kind of just look. We talked about it earlier. Fantasy, huge disappointment this year. I feel like all my teams suck, just about. But a lot of that has to do with just the overall teams in the NFL. So, thought maybe we should talk about like the overall landscape of these teams that are just fucking us sideways and not in good ways. First off, Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, it's not pretty, man. I mean, positionally, they've lost their starting running back. They've lost their starting wide receiver. Um, I told everybody before the season started, don't draft Travis Kelce in the 3rd round because they weren't going to need to use him. I was right in that they weren't using him, but now I'm going to be very wrong because now they have to. So I don't even know if I should dunk or say sorry for that. My bad, guys. But yeah, it's just for fantasy. It's not good, man. I think looking back, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is a must start. It's so weird to say, but I I don't even think it's that bold, especially after the stats flew in from this last week and added to it. And the Chiefs were on bye, to be fair. But, I mean, dude, if you've got Pat Mahomes and Baker Mayfield on your team, are you going to feel super confident about the 15 that Pat Mahomes is probably going to give you? Or are you going to go for the 25 to 30 that Baker Mayfield is probably going to get you? You know, like I'm not saying you're going to drop Patrick Mahomes. Of course you're not. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFL, but it's just the utilization for what the Chiefs are doing offensively is just not fantasy friendly. I mean, it was great for Rashi Rice. It would have been great for Isaiah Pacheco. So now we're seeing that it's probably going to be much better than it has any business being for Kareem Hunt. And like I said, my flyer is Juju, but insert Chiefs receiver here. Andy Reid can do it with anybody. Xavier Worthy's still going to get his random 35-yard flash touches for touchdowns, They're going to win. They have been, and they're going to put up enough points that the defense can outrun whoever they're playing most weeks. And Travis Kelce's going to be a thing. He's got like 20 targets over the last 2 games because they've just been backed into a corner and they had to. So I don't really know what else to say about him other than play Kelce, probably play Hunt if you're running back needy, and then throw your darts on the rest of them.
Baltimore Ravens as well. I have Lamar Jackson in a couple of my leagues there, sir, and he's doing good. He's doing all right. I mean, I don't really have any other better options.
He's the quarterback 3. He's doing all right. I'm just messing with you.
Right.
I get it. Right. I do get it because he is technically the quarterback 3 right now, but it hasn't been pretty. I mean, it's safe to say you're probably getting what you put into his draft capital back, but that their offense is weird, dude. I won't say it's kind of like the Chiefs because it's a different like build and different makeup, but at the same time, outside of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, you have no idea who to start. Like it's one week Rashad Bateman has 8 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown, and this last week Zay Flowers had 9 catches for 120 at halftime and then disappeared after that. Mark Andrews might as well have retired. Uh, Isaiah Likely, kind of like Mark Andrews, but younger. Some days you're going to get 7 catches with a touchdown, and other days he's not going to be on the field. And they're just spreading the ball around too much. It's working. They're winning games. Like it's working fine for them, but it's just not fantasy friendly. So I think to just sum all that up as short as I possibly can is you're playing Lamar every week. You're playing Derrick Henry every week, every freaking week. And I'm starting Zay Flowers every week, but it's because I
Same.
have to, you know,
Yeah, I don't have any
you
other
know,
options.
right. I'm starting Zay Flowers every week because I believe in the talent and I believe in the player, but there are going to be weeks like there have been already where he kind of hurts you. He'll have 3 catches for 22 yards and you'll just be watching the game, shooting yourself in the foot, going, he's wide open in the end zone. Why are we trying to find Rashad Bateman or the third string tight end? You know, but that is what it is.
Now we've already kind of like briefly talked about it. Miami Dolphins, not the same with without Tua.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty much it.
yeah, I have a couple of their players. Achan is the only one that I have. Maybe I'm trying to think. No, I have Tua too. But he was always my backup quarterback. He was never my starter. Um, yeah, just everybody struggling across the board without him.
It's rough.
Goes to show that he is underrated as a quarterback.
Well, and when he got paid $55 million a year, I was like, that's a bit much.
It's
Like
a
I
little bit rich.
I think that's a bit steep. But you know what? Other people are getting paid 50 plus a year, and when you took Tua off the field, the team got deleted. So whatever, dude. Pay the man.
Would you go through and I seriously don't mean this as a joke when it comes out when I say this, okay? So I know I'm always joking and shit like that. But would you take 55 mil a year to have your brain scrambled multiple
No,
times like he
no,
has?
I would not. I've actually thought about that. If you gave me $55 million and you said we're gonna give you one concussion, I would consider it. Just because that's like my great grandkids would be taken care of. Like I feel like that's like taking one for the team. you know, but no, a 5-year deal when he's already had the concussion history that he's had, man. Like he should, in my personal opinion, because I like him as a person. Well, I don't know him personally, but he seems like a really upstanding dude, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should take whatever guaranteed money that he's owed and ride off into the
Bounce
sunset. Yeah,
and
I don't
bounce.
think
Yeah.
it's worth your health.
San Francisco 49ers also kind of struggling a little bit. I'm trying to
They
think off the top of my head. Other than McCaffrey, I have Ayuk, which we'll talk about him in a second. Um, I think that's it as far as 49ers player goes for me.
Yeah, so McCaffrey going down killed any consistency that we were able to predict from a Kyle Shanahan offense. We knew that we were looking at McCaffrey first, whether he was going to run the ball or whether he was going to swing to the outside and catch a swing pass. Defenses were honing in on that, so it opened up the floor for people like Samuel. Well, Samuel's pretty much always open. That dude's a freak in and of himself. But Brandon Ayuk has really, really struggled. I bought early Brandon Ayuk this year, paid way too much for him in retrospect. You're welcome, Tyler. And he's killing me. Like, Brandon Ayuk is killing me. I mean, you don't know what to. Then we get the Jawan Jennings game when Debo didn't play, and the dude had 175 yards with 3 touchdowns. And now he's back on the waiver wire because he's been so inconsistent ever since then that after he dropped to 45, people are dropping him. You know, and I get it. Like I get it. Like I was having a conversation with somebody this morning, and I said I don't think you need to stash him at this point. He's not a bad stash, but if you need room on your bench, whatever, kick him off of it. but it's just hard to predict, man. Like Brock Purdy's doing the damn thing. He's getting 2 or 3 touchdowns and 200 yards every week. Jordan Mason's been filling in fine for McCaffrey. The touchdowns haven't really been there like they would be with McCaffrey, but to lose your number one pick and insert his backup into that role, he's been serviceable for sure. But having defenses have to focus on Christian McCaffrey the way that they do and still not be able to stop him has just really opened up all the options that the 49ers have on offense. And I'm not going to say they're getting exposed because they're getting it done and they're scoring points. But it's definitely, they seem to be struggling without him to move the ball at times. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it looks easy because Kyle Shanahan, as much as I think he's an asshat, he's a very good play caller, and he's put together an excellent roster. But it's just the predictability is gone. Like it's you're playing Kittle every week, you're playing Mason every week for volume, if nothing else. You're playing Debo every week, but Debo will hurt you. He'll have weeks where he's out of the lineup and disappear. And Brandon Ayuk has gotten to the point that I'm going to play him because he's one of my best players, but I'm not playing him with confidence like I would have last year. It's like, well, I hope you get me 7 catches for 70 yards. Like, that'd be great, man. That'd be fucking amazing. I'd appreciate that. If you want to throw a touchdown in there, even better. Even better. You know?
I'm just asking for more than 10. That's all I'm asking for.
Right.
Yeah, Shanahan, he can go fuck himself, man. He's a great play caller up until the second half of a Super Bowl, and your team's up 28-3. But that's neither here nor there. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys.
Dude, they're bad. They're real bad.
They're bad. Like, I love how he signs his huge contract, and then, I mean, I can't remember if they what they were like before he signed his contract. But Jesus Christ, they got their ass smoked at their house.
Yeah, they got ramrodded by Detroit the other day. It's not
to be
the
fair,
first time.
Detroit's pretty good.
No, yeah, no, Detroit's amazing. Super, super bandwagon fan in Detroit. I love Dan Campbell. I love everything that they do over there. Their culture's amazing.
Did you see that that video that they posted on their social media shit with handing out the game balls?
Yeah, and he gave it to Jared Goff, and then Jared Goff gave it back.
Yeah, I was like, bruh, it hits me right in the fucking feels, bruh.
Dude, you can tell. You can just tell, man. That's a tight locker room. Like, you got people over here like the Cowboys who are, like, fighting and trying to dick punch each other on the sidelines, and then you got those people crying together in the locker room. There's a culture there, man. There's a culture.
So, this is related to the Dallas Cowboys because I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb here. Did you see the video where he's talking shit back to? I know there's like lots of them. Do you think he said subpar throw Dak? What do you know what video I'm talking about?
Yeah, he addressed it, and I forgot what he said that he said. But when I went back and watched it,
jump ball.
Yeah, so like it kind of looked like that, but it also kind of looked like subpar throw. So
he said subpar throw.
it was a subpar throw. It was.
So he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Yes. Yeah, I don't know, man. You drafted these guys to do it, and they're not. Which I say that though, but when I think about who we drafted off of the Cowboys, like, sure, you took CeeDee Lamb 1, 2, maybe 3 overall, and he's underperforming. It just is what it is. But you're gonna keep playing him because he's your number 1 pick. But then I think about everybody else, and it's like, Dak, you probably took in the 7th or 8th round. There's been so many quarterbacks this year that have been playing. Like, that's fine to navigate around. Rico Dowdle or Ezekiel Elliott, whichever flyer on that you took, it wasn't high draft capital, Jake Ferguson, we talked about him in the tight end segment. He was going as the tight end 10, and right now he's the tight end 4, so he's fine. Dak panics, he goes to Fergie. But so they're honestly, they're not really killing you for fantasy. But man, did they just look bad as an offense. Like CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if he has 3 or 4 touchdowns this year. I think it's 3, but I know for a fact 2 of them shouldn't have been touchdowns. He caught the ball in double coverage, and one of them, literally the 2 defenders fell into each other, and he just like walked into the end zone. And the other one was just a CeeDee Lamb play. Like when I watched it, I was like, that's why he's the number one. That's why you drafted him. Like I get
Mm.
it, but we're 6 games in now, and we've seen it twice. So I mean, he's not returning the value that you put out to get him, but I think he's the only player that's actually killing you in fantasy. I'm kind of even hard pressed to say he's killing you. He's just underperforming as to where you drafted him.
Underperformance. Story of my life.
They call me CD.
CD what? CD's nuts.
Yes, we're 12.
Can you do a D's nuts joke by yourself? Like is that allowed? I feel like it is.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
There's no rules here.
You think this is a fucking game? So I have some questions that I want to ask you, sir, to kind of close out this episode.
Uh-oh. All right.
I think I said I had 7 questions for you.
Pop quiz.
Pop quiz time. Travis Etienne. My guy. I think I traded with you, didn't I?
You did.
This is why I don't fucking trade. Right the fuck here. Okay?
I think I know where this is going. I'll let you ask it, and then I will answer it honestly.
10.9, 14.8, which is the most he has scored all season. 12.5, 7, 12, and an abysmal negative 0.1.
Yeah, he fumbled and got hurt, and then had to come out of the game.
No, don't make excuses for him. Okay, no, I'm about to put him in the Anthony Richardson category. Okay, dude can't stay healthy. That's a little bit harsh. It's a little harsh. I understand.
What is the question?
Am I benching this dude at this point because he's not really helping me?
Well, you have to now because he's gonna miss a little time, but he's better than his numbers project, or he's better than his numbers stat out. I truly believe that. I mean, he finished as a top 7 running back last year. The Jaguars they're finally starting to move the ball. Like they sucked. They sucked real hard for the first month of the year. And the only other factor I can think of there is Tank Bigsby, who was openly mocked all offseason and completely undrafted, even as a handcuff running back to Travis Etienne this year, has just woken up and realized that he does in fact know how to play football. So he's kind of eaten into the workload some, even before the injury. And I mean, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like I do think better days are ahead because I do think Travis Etienne's the best running back on that team, and it seems like they're figuring out how to move the ball. But yeah, it's been a bumpy ride so far.
Says you that traded him to me.
No. Let's see. I was trying to avoid that. I got Marvin Harrison for him, and that has been a letdown so far too. Okay. That is. And who did you get in that second round?
I don't even fucking remember, to be honest with you.
Oh. All right.
Do you?
No. I know you kept. I was thinking it was Nico, but you kept Nico. You didn't draft Derrick Henry in that league, did you?
No, I didn't draft Derrick Henry.
Oh.
I wish I would have, but
I was gonna say, yeah, then you won anyway. So eat it, nerd.
Next question. Brandon Ayuk. We already talked about him a little bit. Now I'm gonna ask this question. I already know the answer to this question, kinda, because I did what I'm asking you. But on the flip side, I have another question.
Okay.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but just hear me out, okay? Should people be trading this dude or going after him? I went after him, okay? To be fair, his season has sucked worse than Etienne's, okay? He is just dropping the fucking ball, pun fucking intended, Okay. Um, so should be people going out there and getting rid of this dude, trading this dude, and then for me personally, should I be benching this dude? Actually, let me rephrase that. He's been on my bench. I'm waiting for him to give me a good game before I put him back on there. But I guess just if you want to fill people in on what they should be doing with Brandon Ayuk at this point.
I'm on the side that you should. I still like going after it. I do. I think we've already been through the worst without McCaffrey. Um, so he'll, assuming that they're not lying to us again, he'll be back sooner than it has been since he's been out. And I think he brings balance to that offense. I think he opens up the field for their best weapons, and I think Brandon Ayuk is their second best weapon. Um, should you go after him or should you trade him away? I think that is dependent on what you need and how other people in your league view him. So if I'm stacked at receiver and I'm short on running back, and there's a guy that has four running backs and he comes to me wanting Ayuk, if he's reaching for Ayuk, that tells me he believes and he's going for him. So I'm trying to get a good running back if I can. At the same time, if I'm short at receiver and I'm stacked on running back, I'm the guy that's going to be confident enough in IU to give up my running back three to go get him to fill out my flex. You know what I mean? So I think he's fine. I really do. It hadn't been great so far, but going into last week, the game before that, I mean, the dude didn't go to training camp. He held out. He was out of shape, obviously, when they started the season. And it showed. I mean, he looked slow. He was just slow as hell running down the field. Looked like me trying to run out there. And but he had a game where he had like 140 yards, I think, 120, something like that. I mean, we've seen it that he can still do it. It's just they just got to figure out a rhythm in the offense outside of drawing a receiver's name out of a hat and beating the opposing team that particular week with that one receiver.
And then my next question, rhetorical question. Okay. Can a player really and truly suck as hard as Anthony Richardson has sucked this season? Rhetorical question. We all know the answer. Moving on to my next question.
Yes.
Any low key ads that people need to be looking at on the waiver wire? I know you kind of dropped a couple throughout the episode, but any that
Mm,
you're looking at?
all right. So 6 weeks into the season, waiver wire ads are about team necessity. Like
Yeah.
with injuries, all the handcuffs are probably already gone. If there's any out there, I'm still looking for running back handcuffs. Um, you know, find a team that runs the ball a lot with one player, figure out who their backup is. I won't go through a list of 5 or 6 names, but I'm telling you, you can figure it out. I'll give you a couple. Trey Benson for the Cardinals. James Conner's known to get hurt. If he's out there, I want to pick him up if I got room. Justice Hill for the Ravens. Derrick Henry gets hurt. I've seen this dude looks like a straight athlete now. Um, Trying to think of receivers. I mean, receiver rooms, man. I think that's kind of just pick your poison, you know. We mentioned Jawan Jennings a while ago for the 49ers. If something happens to Debo or something happens to Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings is probably an auto start again. And personally, I do like that Xavier Hutchinson kid for the Texans that I was talking about earlier. I don't think he's going to give you what Nico did, but I think he's probably the next man up on the roster that's going to be the closest thing to it. So just for a depth ad. And outside of that, yeah, I would go check for Evan Ingram. A lot of people had to drop him, myself included, to make room because of early season injuries when he got put out for a few weeks, and then he came back last week for an abysmal Jaguars offense, had 10 catches for 100 yards, PPR machine just like we told you he would be.
What about trading for? Like anybody out there, you should be like, hey, you might be able to get this dude at a good deal.
I made a joke a while ago about ambulance chasers. To a certain degree, I kind of am one. Like I see the struggles that Los Angeles has had passing the ball. So if I can get away with it, I really want Cooper Kupp on my team. I think he's back in a week or two. And if the price is right, I don't mind stashing Puka Nakua if I think I can wait that long. Because it's a different offense when these two guys are in, even when one of them's in. Um, Everybody will tell you, don't try to go get Nico. That's probably the logically smart thing to do. As a matter of fact, if you have a sub 500 record, you should probably be trying to sell Nico. I still want to go get Nico. Nico's my favorite player. Well, except for Jaden Daniels, because go Tigers. But um, outside of just people coming off injuries, though, like pure talent wise, I think the scope of the league is just it's too strange at the moment for me to just isolate one or two people that I want to target everywhere. And that's not to say that their players aren't there. It's just I haven't honestly thought that much about it at this point.
The next one that I have is Justin Jefferson really the truth? And when I say the truth, I mean capital letters, the truth. And the answer
Yes.
is also rhetorical.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know that one was rhetorical, but I was just going to very shortly say yes.
Yes, he's made me a believer this year. I'm just going to throw that out there. When he's playing with like the replacement QB, making Sam Darnold look great. Oh yeah, you got me on board, man. You got me on board. Okay.
To be fair, Sam Darnold's a pretty good quarterback.
Let's not get crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, played for the Jets, Panthers. Finally gets his stint with the Vikings and starts off as QB4 for 4 weeks. Like, I'm just saying, dude's not the best quarterback in the league. Dude's also not as bad as everybody thought he was.
Okay. I'll let you have that. The Jets are pretty terrible.
Yeah. That was during the Adam Gase days, too.
Yeah, right? And then the last question that I have, and this is somewhat serious, somewhat joking. Should I bench Josh Allen for his one fumble costing me a fucking game this week?
See, that's not even a joke. That's a serious question. I've been I've been having
this motherfucker right here, man.
Yeah, dude. So, dude, all right. The short answer is no. You cannot bench Josh Allen. I'm not there yet. And honestly, if he did the same thing for the next 5 weeks that he's done for the last 5, and either given you a 25 or a 10, my answer would probably still be no. Which may be stupid at that point. I don't know. But I have this debate every single Saturday night when we are laying in bed and the kids are asleep, and my wife is going through her lineups because she has Josh Allen twice, and she's got Baker Mayfield in one of those leagues, and she's got Sam Darnold in the other one. So every single week when I'm like, you have to play Josh Allen. You have to play Josh Allen. And then he goes out there and puts up an 11 while Baker Mayfield has a 30. The next Saturday night, she's like, you remember when you told me to play Josh Allen and then Baker Mayfield got a 30? So there's only so many weeks I can get away with doing that, honestly. But I told her straight up, just like I will say here publicly, I won't judge you if you put him on the bench if you have an elite option. But just know, the second that you do, he will put up 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just how this works.
I'm serious when I say I lost a game by his one fumble because I think it was, I forget which league of it is ours. It's one of the other 2 leagues that we have, me and you. I want to say I lost by 0.12. I want to say.
Hey, that's rough.
So I'm just saying, if he hadn't fucking fumbled, I would have got it.
Yeah, that's shit that makes you want to pull your hair out. I feel that.
I saw that and I was like, "Yeah, son of a bitch." Yeah, man, that's all the questions I have.
Okay. Well, yeah, guys, I don't really know what else to say other than football is weird and it's making me question my own sanity this season. But hopefully that just gave you a little bit of catch up on just the wild shit that's been happening for the last few weeks. But let us know what you think. Let us know where we're wrong, who we need to be picking up, who we need to be trading away. Because honestly, I don't know anymore. I don't feel like I know this game anymore. It's. But thank you, Matt. Thank you for being on and being my moderator, keeping us moving along. And
Absolutely, sir.
I guess we will see you guys when we see you. Hopefully soon. I'm sure the league will be completely different by then.
Laters.
Later on.